All right, back in town. Jeez, wow, what, what a trip away. An amazing time. Did a little bit of trading in that. Did very well on the metals actually. That first sort of pump up on gold. Well, first pump up it was kind of the third pump up, but that big sort of pump up towards 2,500, most recent all-time highs for that one there. Did very well there. Got off a lot at 2480. 85, like around that zone, a couple of positions close there. It was actually one of my biggest FX trades, and I banked half, held half, and everybody knows what's happened since. My God, what the hell has happened? It's certainly been one of those moves where, like, geez, I mean, look, this is Aussie. I'll start off with this here. Look, the charts are going to be a little bit scrappy. Going to take me a little while to update things, get back on top of things, but yeah, geez, I mean, look at this. This is Aussie, as I said. This is a yearly low we just put in. I mean, look at how long this took to go from these levels down here. So this is back April to July there. So 3 months to go up, and then what's this, like 2 weeks or something to come down here, something thereabouts. And this is the like, it's not even so much that you miss like going higher and longs all this. This is a short opportunity. Wow. You know what I mean? Imagine if somebody's been holding all the way through here and here they go. They sort of get it all back in 1 week. So certainly some crazy stuff going on at the moment. Last week, obviously, massive week with the news. Had NFP come in drastically low, which, if you follow any of what I do say. Um, I don't really trust these figures. And I've been saying each time, look, I bet it's going to be revised down, revised down. This one, I reckon next month they're going to be revising it up a bit. I think they, look, I mean, you don't, let's put a tinfoil hat on for a second, but I would sort of tend to sort of say that I don't know, I've got very low trust for these figures out of the Fed, just like with the PBOC. I think they use it to kind of manipulate the market a little bit. We saw this 2 months ago on the NFP when the whole market was looking for a breakdown, and then out of nowhere, the US seems to put in an extra 300,000 jobs. You know what I mean? And then strong data all the way through soon, and now we're putting in 100,000 jobs. It's just, you know what I mean. It kind of sort of seems like they know where everybody's looking, and it just sort of seems that they use it to shock the market. So my prediction, and I'll revisit this next NFP, next first Friday of the month, but my prediction is going to be a revision up from this one. I reckon up about I don't really know, but say 20, 30,000 jobs. I reckon that's the revision up to 140. So I'll revisit that and quote this one when we get to that point. But yeah, so we had NFP, we had BOJ, is the other big one in that, which they're sort of finally sort of doing something to uh, just to combat such an incredibly weak yen. It's been sort of shocking for so long. And, we're seeing some massive moves on the yen pairs. Like sort of UJ's down, I think, maybe 2,000 points or something from the highs, like 162 down to 142. Obviously finding a little bit of support there and bouncing a bit. Aussie was up around I think 109, 108, something thereabouts, down to sort of low 90s. So yeah, the yen has just been big trade, and with that you've got the carry trades, you've got sort of basically all these people that are just unwinding these positions. We're seeing obviously sort of as the money flows back into the yen, we're seeing the Nikkei just absolute bottom out like that. Same with the Aussie; it just took out a whole year within a couple of weeks. So it has been an absolute turmoil, and I'm really surprised with this as well because this is summer. Well, summer Europe, summer US. Typically, volumes are low, and it's a bit quiet, particularly this year. We've been seeing a lot of ranging throughout this year. Excuse me, if I pop across the DXY for 2 seconds. Geez. So here we go here. Uh, I mean, geez, look at these. So it's interesting to sort of see where your charts have been and how things sort of play out. But I'll see if I've still got these things. I cleared the charts, I think, a little bit before I went away. So maybe I don't have a DXY here with all our yearly sort of things. But anyway, we can still look at it this year has been a lot of this stuff here, ranging up, ranging, move, move. I mean, maybe you range up the top here, but it's been very much sideways. Look at this, sideways for a couple of weeks, sideways for a couple of weeks, sideways for a couple of weeks, and then come in summer, whoop, absolute rip down to the bottom side here. So I was charting this. I was doing some very crude sort of charts on my phone and that, but this is what I saw coming out here. So I haven't got them obviously updated on this one here, but it was this. Where was it? So it was 4 hour. I can't remember. I think it was this move back up here. I had a zone in for it here, and I said, look, if it comes out the bottom. No, that's right. Came up the top here. And I said, look, if it comes out the bottom of this, like this is a range, we come out the top side, rejected, rejected twice. I said, look, if we come out the bottom side of this, that's going to be a failed breakout. Bang down, bang down. I said, we're going to watch out for a big strong move to the downside, and here we go, bang. So it's been really, I've got so much to catch up on, so much to say basically, but so I'll try and keep it a little bit more sort of concise and sort of to the point. But with this big move down with DXY, correlations are out of whack all over the market. We are seeing metals moving with DXY. So, you know what I mean? This can happen. As I do say, 90% of the time they run inverse. That's fine. 10% of the time they'll run together. Where you make the money is when you can pick those times. But at the moment, we're seeing gold struggling. We're seeing silver certainly struggling as well. But at the same time, we've got DXY moving down. So it's all moving down together. So again, one of these things is going to be lying, and we're going to see some revision at some stage because, as I said, 90% of the time it will come back to its normal way of trading, which is an inverse relation. Okay, just bear with me one sec. All right, back. Yeah, so this shows how far out of whack I am. Hopefully, this is actually recording the sound because I notice it's tapped into my phone as well, and well, hopefully I'm not just sort of talking to myself for sort of 20 minutes. But anyway, long story short, we're seeing it all move together. One of them is going to revert back soon. I'm still in the camp of metals. I think you've got geopolitical tensions going on. I think you've got the fact that US dollar is breaking down, cuts are coming. You know what I mean? Recession, yada yada talk. This stuff is happening. So I do believe that we are going to be sort of seeing further downside, sub 100 on DXY. So that for me keeps me in the camp, despite fucking metals being a little bit weak at the moment. I do believe that we're going to see further downside on DXY, and I do believe metals will eventually kick back into gear and shoot back up. I mean, it's had so many attempts at 2,500. You feel it just has to hit that lot there and have. Remember that big spike up we had? I think it was last year. And it just absolutely ripped. It went up like 70, $80 in like, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. It was in the start of Asia session. I think possibly even on a Monday or something. That's the kind of top I'm looking for in metals. So I think there's still some upside to go there. So look, I got out of a lot of my gold. I'm holding a bit of silver, which is in drawdown at the moment. Obviously, as we've seen, silver's been pretty sort of weak. I've got a bit of copper. Um, Copper and silver are a little bit different because obviously they're sort of a bit more tied into the risk factor of stuff. So we want to see sort of like, the world sort of go, okay, you know what, we're not about to blow up next week and everything's stuffed. That'll get copper and silver back into gear. And obviously we've sort of got gold going on there as well. So anyway, look, that's a bit brief overview of what's happening with it all. Aussie super, super weak as well at the moment, as I just sort of showed a moment ago. That again tied in with sort of with risk. With all the equity markets selling off, it doesn't matter. Like we've seen Aussie actually run in sync with DXY as well, which of course, as we know, DXY doesn't involve Aussie, but we use it as a barometer and we use it to sort of gauge where risk is at. And that's the point. It's going down, risk is going down, equity markets are selling off. So it doesn't matter if you've got a weaker DXY, which is kind of like basically just weaker US dollar, because the risk factor is what is ultimately driving Aussie at the moment. And with people seeing Nikkei dropping 10, 12% or something, like it was like Black Monday status, like 30, 40 year sort of kind of sell downs, like very hectic stuff. that is spooking everybody, and that flowed on, and it shows how entwined all these markets are. It's not just, the Nikkei that sells down, everybody gets freaked and everybody sort of sells down. I mean, you know, ASX was 3% or something. So, yeah, I mean, big day, like 3%, but, it's not 10 to 12%. And, Nikkei bounced right back. So we'll see how this goes today because we're on Wednesday. What are we at? 7th of August, 10 to 11 at the moment. I'm going to see some volume coming in soon. Yeah, so yeah, we'll sort of have to sort of see how all this sort of plays out, but that's my sort of overall sort of thing. I think we've still got further downside DXY. I think we've got recovery coming on Aussie and metals and that in time. Okay, let's get into a couple of these charts, have a look and see if we can pick out some levels for it all. So, gold here. Jesus, it's a little bit slow, isn't it? Laggy. All right, let's get rid of this. So, as you can see, my price targets were up around this 2,500 here. So we kissed up along here a couple of times, didn't we? This is the move I was talking about while I was away. I think this is the one, or was it this one? Jesus, man. Oh, what a triple way, eh? Yeah, it was this move through here. Right up to the top up here, got off a whole bunch of them, came back down here, got off a few more out here. Excuse me. And got off the last lot of them over here. I've added a few on the way down here. As I said, I'm still looking for topside moves, so I'm happy for this to sort of almost potentially range through this area here. So if we have a quick look and put some lines on this one, let's see where we're at. So we can say for now, this is kind of where we know the sellers are sitting. So this is going to be top of our range over here. Something is going on with this computer and it's running incredibly bloody slow. So this is where we know the sellers are. Let's cut this, drag this down over here. This is where we'd like to sort of really stay above. This is obviously, moving down. This is where we know some buyers are. I mean, you can see it's been tested a couple of times. This last recent sort of spike down, which was the other day, obviously managed to hold this here. So let's go on to some support here. Bang, and we know that some buyers are sitting over here. So you can sort of start to see that, look, we are kind of in a bit of a range over here. A couple of bucks either side of it all, came back down here. If you give up this bottom side down over here, this major break over this one, and boom, how we go there? Maybe this is from way back, who knows? Let's clean up the chart a little bit. Let's go with this. This is mainly what we're looking for now. You can kind of disregard the rest of the stuff over to the left. We've got to trade with what we're doing. So even if we move it across, so it keeps it a little bit fresher. This is what I'm kind of trading at the moment. The idea that this is still in a range. If we break down the bottom side here, look, we've got a couple of levels of support. You know what I mean? Down at 2320 and, I guess around 2300. Bottom side for support down here. But for now, this is the little area that we're sort of sitting in. If we want to sort of see something a little bit more short term, so I would say this little zone here would be where we're looking for. Slow computer is really annoying. This is the little area, I guess, we're sort of seeing at the moment. It's trying to hold this area here. So, no, I'm going to sort of stick with this and say this little area here. I'd say if we break down this little wick here, as you can see, you've got 2 wicks about even with them all. This is on a 4-hour. If we sort of go down under here, fill the wick, 64, major supports at 50. You go under 50, we got downside moves. So this will come under here. Till then, you could really sort of see things just swing and be bought up again. As I said, we're going 11 o'clock. We're going to kind of see the volume come in as we typically do, and we'll sort of see how things sort of play out from there. But I'd say for the moment, above 2420, is pretty good for sort of saying, okay, look, we're going to revisit 2460s and then potentially test those 70s, 80s breakout areas. But for now, I would say, look, if you want to sort of see this area hold in the 80s, it tried to drive down here a couple of times last night. Obviously, bounce back up, bounce back up. It is still sort of drifting down. We haven't found that sort of buy support that we need yet. But just having a look around at a couple of other things, you're seeing silver push back a little bit, copper push back a little bit. Ultimately, they're all very weak in the short term, and they need to find some sort of reason for them to be buying. So I'll jump onto the news in a moment and sort of see if there's anything sort of coming up that we can see that could be a bit of a catalyst other than just your normal sort of trading hours. because, again, if you're going to break major zones, generally you're going to sort of want to see them. Well, you're going to want to see it. You're going to see it happen with some news to drive it. It's not necessarily just going to be middle of a session, bang, move. I mean, obviously, these things, anything can happen, but generally, if there's no news to sort of drive it through major levels, 80 and say 50, it's 130 buck, 130 buck ranger to go through these zones. You're going to just see things bouncing around. So you look for the shorter term um, supports and resistance, and then we sort of trade off those levels. So looking for this to sort of hold here, and then sort of look, if we get back up around 24.20, I'll take a little 24.15, 16. I'll probably take a little bit off just in the fact that there's a chance that it just continues this little range through here. We break down under here, then holding fire and sort of see what happens down at the wick fill at 64, and then obviously see what happens at 54 down underneath that. But as I said earlier, ultimately, I think we do have a little bit of upside move sort of coming. All right, so that's gold. For Aussie. So Aussie, we saw this big spike down here. God, I would have loved to have had been picking up some Aussie sub 64. Oof, that was a massive move, this one here. And look at the recovery on this as well. I remember watching this, like I kind of just got back. I'm sort of watching it. I don't think I've ever seen anything move, or not anything, but I've never seen Aussie move that fast. That was just you look at it and a drop. You look at it and a drop. It was weird. It was like sort of 3 o'clock in the Arvo or something as well, like local Melbourne time. So that was sort of like, yeah, that was hectic. Like, you look at it, it's down. You look at it, it's down. It's a wild. Okay, and I think I'm back. So, yeah, some sort of fun little tech issues here just sort of coming back. Whole computer just sort of died on me, but luckily I think the first half of that analysis has sort of held. I can't remember where I was up to, but I think we were talking about Aussie at the time. So, yeah, as I said, look, this drop down here. Would have loved to have got some under 64 in that. So, that's the name of the game. Okay, anyway, whatever. Here we go. So we're seeing Aussie breaking above this little 40 zone here. So I've been sort of trading these little sort of pump ups in here each time, and that actually just took some more off just at this 40 zone here, as I've done a couple of times. Called it last night, sort of around this point here, second time here. So I've traded this point here, traded this point here, and I've sort of just taken off a portion of it just here again, as we seem to be sort of breaking through. That looks pretty good. So let's, well, got to get back into the flow of things. All right, so let's have a look. So what's happening here? Even before, I'll just say as well, I was mentioning a second ago, the computer was running very slow. Back to normal movement now. So I think that's the thing. The fans seem to have, excuse me, sort of seized up a little bit. So I think it was overheating and just sort of turning off. But so let's have a look. So around this zone here, this is the next level. So if we zoom down a little bit closer here, whoop, this is what I had been looking at. This 40 zone, we know that the sellers, look, we're still into an area where it's been sold down a number of times. But what I had been sort of trading was this little 40 zone here. And I've been looking at this. Was it on the daily? I was looking at this. Maybe this body fill through here. Not quite sure. I think, yes, this must have been near the 1 hour here. So we could see that, it's obviously held a couple of times. We are now sort of pushing through. So that's a little first sign of depletion of the sellers at this level here. As we can see, it's been very choppy through the stop zone here. So, there's a good chance we may be seeing a little bit more sort of pushback along here. But the next level for us to beat is 70, in my opinion. I think if we can get above 70 here, I think this is going to be sort of showing that we've got a little bit of a pushback, sort of coming back up over here. Aussie, on the sort of more sort of fundamental side of it all, was really like, they were talking the talk and they were saying, look, hikes are still going. And if you look at the Bullock's speech, what day is it now? Well, I lost track of the days. Yesterday it was, wasn't it? She was sort of saying that she's got some tough talk. She's sort of been studying and reading the sort of the Fed sort of playbook on how to talk tough, how to talk hawkish. And that's the thing. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for those underlying words of "we will do what needs to be done." There was a good sort of quote or something there. It was along those lines. I can't remember now, but really, it sort of had the sort of stance that sort of like, what I mean. We're not out of the woods yet, but point is, the reason that Aussie is not back up over here, 67 plus, is because they have been talking tough and saying that they will raise. Then we had that little tick down in CPI, And that sort of got the market going, okay, well, maybe they're not really in the need to sort of cut things. Particularly sort of given everything that's happened the last couple of days, we've seen a sort of a little bit of a sort of shake of fear across the market. And I think that sort of was that with the CPI was enough for them to go, okay, let's hold one more time, see what happens. Because on a world stage, everybody's doing it pretty tough. We to a certain degree don't really care or shouldn't be caring about what's happening in other countries. We should be caring about what's happening here. But again, all these factors sort of come into things. So we'll just have to see how that sort of plays out. But the short here and now, we're seeing Aussie pushing through this 40 zone. I'd expect to sort of push up, as I said, between 57 and 67 in this sort of immediate here. I think the fact that we've sort of seen some selling sort of coming back down here, as you can see, a number of times. This one sort of just came into the zone, this came over here. I would be very surprised if this went through straight away. So to me, I think the trade from this point here, if I can find my little thing, will be up to around here. I think we'll get a push back here. Look for maybe top of this wick here, maybe push back down to this zone here. If we can go through the second time there, that's going to be the confirmation. But again, we've got another 20 points or so, or 10 to 20 points in this sort of immediate move here. So I expect a little bit more of an upside. There was one thing that I was looking at, again, I've been doing this on crude charts, but if you look at the push down through here, was it on the daily or so? Maybe through this point through here. I mean, it doesn't really show it too much on this point here, but somewhere along here. So I'm still playing a bit of catch up. But certainly, we're seeing this drop down, drop down, drop down here. This RSI Stotch didn't even get underneath 20. So although it's sort of, what I mean, fairly flat on the same level here, we're obviously seeing a bit of a push down through this area through here. Yeah, computer's definitely running a bit better now. But you can see that this has actually been not quite sort of showing the same story. And we all love negative Ds, and that's a big neg D sort of coming down on that last drop down there. So this is really just to shake out anybody in that. So these sort of pushes down here, remember what happened back over this point over here? This was, what's it called? It was the Iran retaliation push here, because I remember saying at the time that this has got the ability to run, and moved all the way there and then unwound it very quickly. But again, these big push downs here stopped out a bunch of people. They probably sucked in a whole bunch of shorts. They've got liquidity. They've got the energy now to really drive this and push back up over here. So set your alarms over 70 here, and I'd say this is going to be a medium term major break. And we'd be looking above 67 from this point. So this is at 70, so you've got a 100-point plus move, I would say. Of course, you've got this congestion area through here to deal with on the way back up, but it cut through here pretty quickly. So I would say that this is more relevant, the fact that it cut through so quickly, opposed to replicating what happened over here. It'll be an interesting thing to see how price does act, so that as it does come back up into the zone, whether it does replicate this congestion that we were in for a long period, or whether it replicates the more recent chop through here. Because again, a lot of people being long, people bought the breakout here, they're just getting stop, taking profit, cutting, and it just fed into it all, moving back down here. So I would say we're probably going to see more reminiscent of this faster move through this area back up to 67 than we would see another month or two or whatever this was of the sideways chop. But again, that'll be interesting to sort of see. So keep that one on the charts, and we can sort of obviously sort of track that one as it plays out. All right, so let's flip along. Where have we got? We've got gold. I can't remember if we did gold. We've got DXY now. And we see DXY push back up. And this is what I was saying before. It's a bit of an odd sort of thing in the terms of what Aussie's doing and in relation to DXY at the moment. But the main thing is, okay, first of all, Aussie's not part of DXY. We know that. DXY pushing back up is showing a little bit of sort of faith in risk overall. So we're seeing incredibly weak numbers drop down here. We're seeing BOJ coupled with that, dropping it down even further. Now we're seeing a little, we had a little bit of US data on Monday night. Bear with me, what was it? ISM numbers. So the final ISM came in, services ISM came in, final services PMI, sorry, came in at 55. 56 previous, expected 56. Above 50 is 50 is the benchline. So like the further above that, the more positive it is. So it came in lower than expectation, but still positive. And that makes people think, well, hold on, wait, the world's not about to blow up. And there was a whole bunch of stupid headlines that came out. And this is the thing, you got to really start to. I don't know if it's always been like this, and I've just been more, I don't know, naive, more trusting, I don't know, whatever. But, this year has really sort of been filled with a lot of like sort of headline using market manipulation, I guess you would say. So basically, sort of saying that, what I mean, we had the whole sort of thing with gold when, oh, China stopped buying, and that was like just before NFP came out, and it was a double whack down on gold on that. I remember it got hammered on that day. And then you got the other day, sort of like, while all this stuff's happening, then sort of saying, oh, US might be getting ready to do mid-meeting cuts. If they did mid-meeting cuts, you would be like, well, first of all, US dollar would drop right down, but that would be terrible for risk because you got to get like this is the thing. It's not okay. This is the result, or this is what's happening, and this is how the market will move. You got to weigh in all the factors of all the different not scenarios, but the other factors of what's going on at the same time. Why are they cutting? Because a cut could result in different um, reactions across the market dependent on all the other factors. If they're cutting because they want to sort of stimulate the economy a little bit and sort of push it back on, that'll be good for equity markets. If they've still got strong data or strongish data, but they're sort of cutting because they're bringing down interest rates, you know what I mean? That's kind of like, okay, well, life's still ticking on, equity markets push on, risk is happy with that. If they do an emergency cut because, oh my God, we're really screeching towards recession and everything's falling apart and we're about to have another GFC sort of status thing, that will freak people out and that will kill and damage risk. And that'll hurt Aussie, that'll hurt equity markets. And you'll get the US dollar will sell off. You'll get equity markets at the same time selling off. You'll get Aussie selling off. Metals, I'm surprised that they're doing so tough at the moment because as I said earlier, like, you know what I mean, most of the time, majority of the time, they'll run inverse to DXY. So I'm not 100% sure as to why metals are doing so incredibly tough at the moment, but a bit more investigation, and I'll sort of hopefully try to sort of work something out with that. But look, short term here and there, here's a pretty clear cut sort of little zone that we've got for DXY, just across here, and it's coming back up into it now. Got a little one just underneath here, and that'll be a bit more of your breakdown, and it'll be your target for the bottom there. So if we get back up here, you may see a little bit of something just from this little area through here, but I would say probably more likely this sort of course of action. If we do get a close above 103.43 here, I would say up to retest the bottom side of this range and then back down. As I said, ultimately, I think it's coming down. If you come back up, I think that people are just going to use that as a chance to resell into. You can see that this is a pretty major sort of zone through here a lot of the time. And this is, again, sort of where we shot back up. I mean, it's held a number of times. So I would say if we do get a break up above this here, then, as I said, I think that'll just be sold into kind of thing. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. I'm just having a look at the metals while we do this as well. Aussie breaking higher, DXY breaking higher. These are the sort of interesting things that how the market can flip around with these sort of things because obviously, typically, you're seeing Aussie move inverse to DXY. That's why we use it as a risk barometer. But as I said, it's a risk barometer. That's how I use it anyway. And if this is moving up, well, it's not moving up because people are sort of getting scared. It's moving up because people are going, hold on, wait, it's not actually as bad as we thought. And that's why Aussie's moving up at the same time as DXY. All right, let's rock on with this. Have a quick look. Silver doing it very tough, coming back down to the bottom side here. It's trying to hold this zone through here. We do have some sort of supports down in the 26 area, 26, 26, 20. So if we can see if it can hold this little area here right now, let's try and sort of work out some little zones for us. Um, Look, I mean, there's a lot of wicks down here, but for me, I would want to see it realistically. Take out this top wick over here. So back above 2750, you might have something going on. I would say a close down below bottom here, so 6770. That will be going back down to 26, and we know that this is a fairly high range support area. So you know your downside's kind of limited from here. Upside potential comes in, and we've got the alert there. Look, breaking lower from this point, and it did, of course. But that'll be now. Let's change that to breaking low. Let's call it breaking high. So this is going to be obviously a bit of a swing point for us. We can see that it's been, if we drag this back along here, we can see support, 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 broke down, retest, bang, down. So you want to see it, okay, he's done with this little zone down here. We want to get back above that, and then we're going back up, you know, around the 29s and all this kind of thing. But first things first, above 2760. Call it 2780, just so it's a nice clear push to above the top side there. But for now, metal's certainly in quite a strong downtrend over here. Copper has been absolutely bashed, back down to 78% retracement of its major breakout move. It's just it tried to hold, and then just these sell downs are just, look at these crushing moves down here, like the 4,000, 6,000 point moves. Look, copper can move very quickly. It does seem to be sort of maybe shoring up some sort of little channel through here. What we want to sort of see is probably back up above this high over here. So back above, what's that? 420. So on this one, it's a little bit different to what I'm trading. So I'm not quite sure what numbers we're working off. Because what I'm trading at the moment has it at 40206, whereas this is 399. So anyway, whatever. This high over here, let's call it August 24th high. That's what you want to get above. Then you've got on top side there, you've got this falling resistance here. So really you want to get above this falling resistance, and then we can look at something a little bit higher up. But for now, at best, sideways grind, range for a little bit. This is again on a 4 hour. Excuse me. We have a little shorter range through here, and then we've got little areas of resistance through here. So there's a couple of little zones in here. Get that one off there. For now, you just want to say to hold this little area through here. I think, as I said, we're just going to have to sort of wait to sort of see if we can get above this 4050 area. Not really a great deal. I think, as I said, at best, you're looking through something like this for a while. I'm not looking for anything till we get above this falling resistance. I think it's just going to be either continuation downside or that. We are seeing, look, buying's coming in a little bit higher. It's not really, it's hitting that 20 each time and it's pushing back up. But, you know, that's not really a major buy sell signal. And that's on the 4 hour at the moment. All right. Finally, we just have China, which actually got decimated. So this is the big thing that I've been saying since October, the head and shoulders. And admittedly, this shoulder, if you can even call it that after this time, has come out a little bit further, but the point is still the same. This is the neckline here. This is where we want to see it. It did obviously shoot down underneath here. One more breakdown here, and then we're going down here, 690. That's my target. So this is, we're going to call this confirmation major. Oops. Little way off from after this bounce, but again, we'll have to sort of see how this goes. All right, cool. So yeah, look, a bit of a skim over this one. A couple of tech issues. I have to sort of stitch the two videos together. But look, it's great to be back. It's so amazing to be able to see the charts on the full screen and really sort of build that sort of idea about what's happening because you need to be able to see multiple charts and multiple flows going on at once because with all these things, the money has got to be somewhere. You know, it doesn't just evaporate and disappear. So we know it's not in US dollar. We know it's not in metals. We know that it's gone into yen. We know it's gone into euro. Euro came up to 110, rejected down. So there's some trades going on there as well. Equity markets, the money hasn't been there. So, you know, you've got to be able to see all the charts so you can really build the story about what's going on and find out where's that money going, where are the flows going. And all we need to do is then piggyback onto that. All right. Anyway, look, that's it for me. I'll be back at it soon. All right.